Okay guys, I'm here today with Giancarlo Bodoni. Huge honor for me, 2 times ADCC champion, the current ADCC champion, and Reese, who came here to help him. And guys, this week Giancarlo is showing an entire structure all about the clamp. And today he's going to show us here his favorite ways to get the clamp. So, can't wait to learn some more.
Yeah, so the clamp is a position. Well, first of all, this video is going to be part of this whole guard game series, or this bottom game series. So basically what we've been doing is kind of selecting different areas of guard and going into basically the foundations of each one of those positions. And the clamp is an interesting one because we can kind of use certain types of guard, for example, closed guard or butterfly guard or half guard, as ways to set it up. So some of the previous videos that we filmed kind of tie into this. And it's just a really, really good position, and it's a fundamentally really sound position. One of the things that I really like about it is that from both a beginner to advanced level, especially for people that are kind of learning jiu-jitsu early on, it gives them a good sense of good basic jiu-jitsu principles, particularly the idea of controlling inside position, controlling people's posture, and isolating people's limbs. So that's kind of, those are kind of some of the big benefits of this position, both from a learning perspective, but also just from an offensive perspective. And it's also a position that it's very hard for your training partner to counter or attack you from. There's obviously certain things from any position that your training partner can do, but if you're able to get to this position, you can limit a lot of the attacks your training partner has, making it very defensively sound, but also very offensively. It's something that you can kind of proactively create offense from. So basically, the biggest thing from here is if I want to set up a clamp, it's very difficult to do it from any sort of position where your training partner is static, okay? In order for me to set it up, the first thing that I have to think about is off-balancing my training partner and extending their limbs, okay? So that's kind of the first thing that you learn with it is, how do I get my training partner's limbs separated away from their body? That's going to give me the ability to get the inside position that I need and to set the guard up. So one of my favorite ways to go about doing this is to just go into a basic sumigashi, a basic butterfly sweep, where my intent is to take any variation of sumigashi, say for example I take collar and elbow, and flip my training partner onto his back. And if I can get this to work, awesome, I can send my partner over and you get a nice reversal. But for the most part, with sumigashi in particular, because it's no-gi and I don't have grips on my training partner's sleeves or his belt or whatever the case is, it can be hard for me to actually land top position. So what you get a lot of the times is a situation where either my training partner goes to his back and then bounces right back up, or he just makes a wide base and I can't send him over at all. But what I get as a result of that is I get my training partner widening his base of support, and I get a situation where his limbs become extended, and that allows me to start feeding into a good clamp position. So we scoot over just a little bit. When I go and I try to take, let's say for example, I just took a basic collar and elbow, right? And from here, I went to go send my training partner over, but he tensed up his body, and I kind of get him over, but not quite, okay? And from here, he widens his base. His base of support is wide. His center of gravity is really low, and he's extended here, making it difficult for me to actually send him over and get top position, but it makes it easier for me to feed my knees, okay, into the position that I need, okay, to get into a good clamp. And you can see that from here, this embodies a lot of very good jiu-jitsu principles, which I think from a fundamental perspective is important when you think about teaching moves to people who are learning early on. You want to teach them moves that kind of embody these different elements of jiu-jitsu. So we got off balance, we got extension, we got inside position, we're breaking our training partner's posture down, we're isolating limbs. Okay, so these things are all very good, and they carry over to an advanced level as well. And then from there, we can start working our way into all the different attacks, for example, triangles, and all the different things that we're going to look at in the rest of the video.
Yeah, so one thing I love, how many attacks there are from them, right? Because
yeah,
you can go for triangle, you can go for omoplata, you can go for kimura, you can go, and the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And okay, so this example you showed is from kind of like the butterfly guard, but for example, how would you go from the closed guard, for example? Which yes, I think it's a very traditional transition to clamp.
Yeah, that's a pretty basic one, and again, it kind of starts off with the exact same thing. So I need to get my hands to the inside, and I need to get my training partner's hands down to the floor. So when you're doing it kind of at a basic level, what everybody would teach is just swing the hands to the outside. From here, start looking to pivot your hips out to the side and then go into the position. But typically, it's a little bit hard for me to do that. So what I would like to do from a position like this, like a closed guard, is I need to create a realistic off balance. For me, one of my favorite times to off balance people in closed guard is when they're in the process of standing up. And this is something that we cover in the closed guard portion of the series. But as far as setting up this position, it's no different, right? So one of my favorite times to off balance people is when they're in the process of standing up. And as Reese goes to pick up one and then two legs, as I pull my knees to my chest and get his hands down to the floor quite easily. This makes it pretty easy for me to get my hands to the inside. His hands get so wide as he goes to catch his base that from here, shifting out to an angle, hitting that knee elbow escape, and then moving into good position to set up attacks, okay, becomes relatively easy. And you can set up, obviously, a lot of different attacks from a closed guard, but it's a really, really good way to set up a clamp.
And one more question. So I can always picture go to the clamp from many different positions when the person is on the knee.
Yeah.
Do you ever go with when the person is standing?
No, but what you can do is you can set up. That's actually a really good question. That's part of the instructional and the portion where we talk about actually setting things up. You want to create a situation because we're operating without a gi. If he's standing, okay, it's really hard for me to get meaningful upper body grips, right? The best grips that you can make are going to be like variations of 2-on-1s, arm drags, and that sort of thing. But even these grips, when he's standing, it's really hard to hold on to them forever. So I usually use them temporarily to start, for example, pulling my training partner's leg forward or things like that. But what I can do is I can create a situation where, and again, because it's a live, when you're going live, you can never really predict how your training partner reacts. Yep. But what you can do is you can kind of pre-program your mind to a certain set of predictable reactions that may or may not lead me into other things. So say, for example, I was in this position and I wanted to use a really good way of off-balancing my training partner, which is a double koichi, okay? A lot of times from this position, when I go in and I hit a double koichi, my intention is to knock Reese down to his butt, and if I can knock him down to his butt, I could try to get top position. There's a few predictable reactions that I can get. Again, it won't always be these reactions, but I can pretty much bet that most of the time I'll get at least one of these. One of them that I might get is a situation where as I go to knock Reese down, he sprawls and he widens his base. So let's say, for example, I drew Reese forward, I went to knock him down, he kind of drops to his knees right here. Right as he drops to his knees and the head comes down, I can start using that as a way to go in and start pulling.
Just by you showing this, I can already picture many other ways to force the person to go to the knees and then go from there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you wouldn't be able to necessarily lock it up from a seated position on a standing opponent, but you can force a standing opponent to come down and then use it to bring him into the position.
No, I love it, and especially for no-gi, because I feel like no-gi, you're always trying to find ways to bring that guy engaged and create situations that have a bunch of attacks, and clamp really falls on that.
Yeah, and I think it's really good too, because in a situation where, especially when it starts to get sweaty and slippery, you have a surprisingly good amount of control.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah, so guys, Giancarlo is streaming this week this entire structure all about the clamp, which is part of the guard series that he has at BJJ Fanatics. Make sure to check that out. It's going to be at bjjfanatics.com, and maybe by the time you're watching, it's already there. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you.
Thank you.
Please help me out to grow my YouTube channel. Just click subscribe. And to watch more videos, just click under see more videos. I hope you enjoyed.
BJJFanatics.com. Use the promo code YouTubeFaria to get 10% off any instructional video. Improve your jiu-jitsu faster.